How's everyone doing? Thanks for joining me. Today's project is this Husqvarna Rototiller model CRT52, and I got this from my scrap guy. Someone was just throwing it away for scrap, and I don't know much about it, except that he said it didn't run in about 4 or 5 years. So let's see if we can get this thing going. If we can, it's going to be a big score, especially this time of the year, springtime. Everyone's looking for these things. I think they're around $1,100 Canadian. So let's go through our standard process here to see if we can get this thing running. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is take this air filter cover off. Looks like 2 5/16. Air filter is absolutely brand new. The housing here looks brand new. Like, this thing can't have a lot of hours on it. Alright, I'm gonna check for gas. And there is some gas in there, and it's at least probably 4 or 5 years old. It smells really bad. So I'm pretty sure it's going to need a carb clean for sure, absolutely. And I'm going to just check to see if there's any oil in it. Alright, there's definitely oil in it. It's coming out of the drain, so there's definitely oil, probably too much oil actually. I did put some air in the tires last night, just to check them overnight, and both tires seem to be holding air. That's pretty much the extent of what I've done so far. And let's see here. Pretty hard to see under here, but everything looks good. There's a bunch of roots that I'll clean out after, if I can get this thing running. Height adjustment. Let's see if the height adjustment works. I think I might have to put you down for this one. Height adjustment works. Keep the tines off the ground, so if I get it running here, I'm not trying to till my concrete garage floor. Let's see up here for controls. Here's the engagement handle on both sides. Seems to be loose, and it is putting tension on the belt, the drive belt, so that looks good. Here's our transmission handle, and you can see when I move the transmission handle, that should move. Alright, so that is all good. Let's see if I can put it, just leave it in neutral for the first start. Alright, so let's see. Spark plug is on. Let's check this guy out. Choke is on. There's no prime system on this thing. So I'm going to try and give it a couple of pulls and see what happens. I don't suspect anything is going to happen, probably, just because it's been sitting for 4 or 5 years, as per the customer, or the guy who was getting rid of it. That's what he told my scrap guy anyways. So let's see what we can get out of this thing, if anything. So the choke's on, and fast, slow, or RPM control is on full fast. Well, let's see. Alright, so as I suspected, nothing. So what I'm going to do is spray some quick start. I'll spray some quick start in the carb throttle body there, and see if we can get this to fire off. Take the choke off so I can open up the butterfly valve. I'll put the choke back on for start. Let's try this one. Okay, well that's a good sign. Obviously the carb's got to get cleaned. So next thing I'm going to do is try and test the transmission and the tines to see if those are actually spinning as well. So I'll put you guys down here. This is where you're going to be watching for these tines to be spinning. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try and start it, but this time I'm going to have the tines engaged. So I'm going to have to change the transmission to forward with the drive, and I'll engage the transmission. Now this thing might roll on us a little bit, so I'm not going to be able to control that, but so I'm holding the transmission, I'm holding the engagement, and we'll see if this thing rolls and the tines turn. Alright, well you guys would have seen it better than I did. I'm pretty sure, I mean the transmission definitely works, but I think the tines were rolling. I'll have to check the video. So I think this is this is a big score for me here. I don't see anything else major, anything that, you know, would indicate any other issues other than a fuel and carb issue. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking this carb off here so I can clean that out and clean out the old gunky fuel. And I'll get my ultrasonic cleaner warmed up here. So I'll be back in just a sec. Alright, so I'm going to take this air filter housing off. Looks like 4 5/16 here. Alright, now there's a multitude of linkages and stuff we're going to have to take off here. So I'm going to take a bunch of pictures and before I get started on this thing, that way I can make sure I can put it all back together the way it came off. Alright guys, first thing I'm going to do is for this first cable I'm going to mark with a Sharpie here where that went. I'm going to go ahead unscrew that. Try and put that one back in. Don't lose that for now. And that's a Z-bend linkage. And that goes underneath here. So there we go. Now this choke linkage looks like it's on. The whole linkage, this whole plate is on with a couple of Torx screws. So I'm going to get a Torx screwdriver here to get this choke plate off. Alright, so here's their couple of Torx screws here. This one looks a little bit longer than this one here, so I have to remember that when I put it back. Now I don't want to lose these, so sorry about the lighting. Got my garage door open because it's pretty hot today. We're warm. And looks like there might be a gasket underneath there. I want to be very careful. I don't want to rip any gaskets because I don't want to have to try and buy parts for this thing if I don't have to. There's another Torx screw over here, hole in this breather tube bracket on. Let's take that guy off. And those screws, by the way, those other Torx screws were actually the exact same size. They just looked different to me when I was taking them out. So what this does is this is holding on that bracket on this side, but it's also, I think, holding on, they're attaching one of the screws that attaches the carb to the gas tank. That comes off. That's the exact same size as the other ones. The breather tube can just get moved out of the way. Another Torx screw holding the carb body on to the tank. I think I'm going to take this muffler off. Give me a little bit more room to work. That'd be pretty easy to do. So just bending the tabs back. And I believe those are going to be 7/16. So muffler is off. Can take off the breather tube. There are going to be two intake tube mounting screws here. One here, and there's one actually down here, which you're not going to be able to see. Again, Torx, or you can use a socket maybe to get in there. It's pretty tight though. So this Torx I think is going to be a little bit bigger, probably T25 instead of 20. Alright, so these are T27. But there's another one down here which you just can't get access to. And even if I pull the tank here, which I'm gonna do anyways, there's a bolt way down and underneath here where my hand is that should take off the whole gas tank. Even by doing that, that's not going to get the carb from the tank now. So I'm just trying to take this tank off, guys. So 3/8 socket and ratchet. There's another bolts as well. Okay, guys. So I've ended the tank for now. What I ended up doing was I did take off this this choke plate here, that you can see it was attached to this gasket, which I was worried about ripping, but I was able to get that off. Now I have access to the other screw back here, this one right down here, and I'm going to get in here with a wrench, and that is the second screw for the intake on the carburetor here. Let's see if I can use my ratcheting box in. Good. You know, it really helps when you've seen someone else do it before, or you've actually done it before, to be able to work on this stuff. Alright, so again, more linkages. I'm going to take a few more pictures of these guys. I'll be right back. Alright guys, a little bit of persuasion, persistence. I was able to get this bottom bolt out, and now it looks like the whole thing is just going to come off. I have to be very careful of these linkages still. And this one just comes off like so. In fact, I didn't really need to take that one off, but I will when I need to get the carb off. And then this one is a Z-bend on this end and a Z-bend, looks like, on that end, so I'm gonna have to try and rotate this whole thing. And then also it looks like we've got an ignition wire for the kill wire down here as well. So I'm gonna release this spring. Might be easier just to remove this. Give me a little bit more play in this Z-bend. That looks like maybe a 5/16. Alright, so this should give me a little bit more play. Alright, there we go. And this kill wire off the bottom here. Alright guys, so I got the tank, everything off. I just poured out all the gas, which smelled really bad. Still smells bad. Inside the tank there's some sort of a foam. I don't know if it's a filter or something, but it's all disintegrated. You can't quite see into the very bottom of the tank, but it's just full of this disintegrated foam. So I'm gonna have to clean all that out next, and I'll come back when I got that all squared away.